Welcome to True Health Tuesday, and the truth will set you free. Despite what you've heard about censorship. Okay, so I just got to tell you, okay, this is, I put this up last year, a Candace Owen quote, and I think she's cool. She's rocking. Experts told you that with lockdowns, censorship, masking, and vaccinations, life would return to normal. Conspiracy theorists told you COVID was never going to end and governments would use it to usher in a totalitarian new world order. Who do you believe now? No, I'm not posing the question. I'm just saying that that was interesting. Okay, so since we've been shadow banned, demonetized, everything else, we started the second channel on YouTube. So we can't put our deleted videos there because they'll wipe us out again. We are putting our deleted videos on the Dr. B VIP site, and we've got all the handouts. So getting on this one, not only are you supporting us, which I really appreciate, but you're also able to get the handouts, the data that you can share with others, because we really got to get their health freedom back. And our apprenticeship program, we do the last Thursday every month, and it's high noon California time. Okay, doesn't that sound kind of like a Western? We're going to talk about diaphragmatic and breathing function, but literally how to breathe your way to health, like what breathing actually does in the system and how the oxygen transfer, the health of the blood. We're going to talk a lot. And it's an hour-long class with a 30, last week, or last month we did it, it was an hour-long Q&A. But it's fantastic. We're also going to teach techniques on how to get people healthy, and just simple stuff. It's really fun. Now, Extreme Health Academy, if you haven't been on their site, and I think it's Bergman 14, you get 2 weeks for free, get on there. The amount of data and information is incredible. But I'm going to be on there this Sunday for another 2.5-hour webinar. No, don't ask me when my days are off. Don't. Okay, this came out today. Okay, does anybody want to tell me the mantra that's been on for forever? Follow the science. Okay, like the science is something. Okay, there's a really cool book out called The History of Nearly Everything by, I think, Bill Bryson, and just brilliant. 27 hours if you drive a lot. Okay. But it talks about these brilliant guys, and I'm talking Kelvin, Newton, Einstein, that brilliant guys. And we're talking leaders of society, leaders of science, leaders of geology, leaders of astronomy. I mean, everything. Every leader, every science that you could imagine was wrong. They developed theories and they were wrong. And they realized that science is very dynamic. Well, this article came out, today, from Medscape, okay, with recommending an article from Science Translational Medicine. How we treat acute pain could be wrong. Treating pain with anti-inflammatory medication like ibuprofen or aspirin may promote pain in the long term. What we've been doing for decades not only appears to be wrong, but appears to be 180 degrees wrong. You should not be blocking inflammation. You should be letting inflammation happen. That's what stops chronic pain. Inflammation is nature's pain reliever. And you might say, wow, wasn't last week my talk on inflammation? And I said the exact, no, Medscape's not using us as references. Oh, that would be cool. And I just say, if there's a fair playing field where we could talk about anatomy, physiology, neurology, what helps human beings, okay, and what medical interventions that can be dangerous, man, meet me in the parking lot. I'll bring my information, you bring your information, we face off. What do you think, 30 paces? Okay, I'll kick their ass. Okay, so the 5 keys. Now, anything you do to your human body, you need to have these 5 things happen to you. Any process that you go throughout your entire day, and this is exercise, nutrients, sleep, workout, supplements, drugs, shots, surgeries, anything you decide to do, if it helps one of these 5 things or all 5, it's probably going to be beneficial. Okay. Assimilation of nutrients. Yep. Your body is building 1 billion cells a day. You got to get nutrients out of what you're eating. And I'm not talking going into the gas station that has that, egg that was cooked somewhere else with some bread cooked somewhere else in a plastic package in the steam table. Okay, try to assimilate that. Okay, so assimilation of nutrients, excretion of waste. If you look that some governmental authorities are saying in order to succumb to one of the most famous things that we can't talk about now that shut down the entire economy, that you had to have 3.8 comorbid conditions. What is a comorbid condition? Okay, this is dead tissue. This is what happens. So you are not reproducing. You are not healthy if you have 3.8 comorbid conditions. So you have an accumulation of waste if you have comorbid conditions. So assimilate nutrients, excrete waste. Growth. Your body needs to grow. Muscles need to grow. Kids need to grow. Okay, but then that growth needs to stop. So you have to take care of people while they're in the growth phase. It's amazing. And then year after year, I'm going to bring up examples of people that have reproduced themselves for 3/4 of a century or more, and they're still super healthy. Reproduction. There is a new video on Children's Health Defense, how there has been an actual movement to slow reproduction on our planet. I recommend that to watch it, although I think if I recommend it, it'll be, wiped out again. But you have to reproduce yourself. And adaptation, you've got to continually adapt. You got to adapt to summer and winter. Everything changes. So assimilation of nutrients, excretion of waste, growth, reproduction, and adaptation. Anything you do, if it helps one of those, or if it helps all 5, you're on the right pathway to thrive on the planet. We've got an automatic nervous system. And there's communication from the body to the brain and the brain to the body. The old chiropractors would have a safety pin, okay, and say, this is good communication. You've got this universal intelligence that communicates to the brain. You've got your innate intelligence that the body communicates to the brain and back. So your brain has to know whether it should sweat, whether it should elevate cholesterol, whether it should put blood supply down to the gut, or if that blood is needed to get to the arms and legs to run away from danger. So this nervous system, you live your life through it. Now, I know if you're looking at this sheet here, you might say, gee, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. Okay, my doctor says that those are diseases. No, they're not diseases, they're adaptations. He doesn't understand. This is how stress kills. Now, you may have heard that stress kills. I'm going to tell you one of the mechanisms. Now, everybody knows that when you see a movie and somebody has a heart attack, what happens? They got to grab their left jaw, left arm, left everything, okay? That's because if you irritate the diaphragm on the left, where the heart is, it's connected to the left trapezius. Well, in doctor school, not the pharmaceutically trained, I'm talking the real doctor school, chiropractors. So if you irritate the diaphragm on the right side, okay, that tightens up the right trap. So if you have like gallbladder issues, that can be a chronic right trap. If you have liver issues, that's a right trap. So you have to be able to identify if it's a muscle spasm from some organic pathology or organ pathology, or if it's just a tight muscle. Now, what happens under physical, chemical, or emotional stress, the liver has to process these stress hormones. And we're talking epinephrine, norepinephrine, cortisol, and it's got to process them. There's no off button for those. They've got to go through the body and do their job to get that body working under stress. So physical, chemical, emotional stress, this right trap is increasing in tone. Now you'll see this x-ray up here. This is the right side. This is a patient facing us. So the right side has that bend in the spine. So think of this, the sympathetic nerve supply to the heart. Heart has parasympathetic coming from the neck, sympathetic from the upper thoracic area. And you're going to learn this stuff if you attend our classes. Like most people have already learned this because I've taught this before. Okay, but think of this, physical, chemical, emotional stress. That right trap increases its pressure. So far, I mean, horrible job, horrible relationships, no hope for the future. Again, those stress hormones are working harder, and the liver is called the emotion organ. That right trap gets more and more and more strained. All of those rotate over. Finally, pulls it so far, that's the sympathetic nerve supply to the heart. Bam, it fires a sympathetic charge down to the heart, putting the heart in ventricular fibrillation, stopping the heart. Do heart attacks happen slow? Like if the doctors say, oh, it's a clogged artery? Or do they happen fast, like you were shot in the heart? Okay, this is one mechanism. That's why when we see a rotation like that, we know this person's been under extreme stress. Worse yet, if the patient, like I had a patient today who had a gallbladder removed, it's like, holy moly, that gallbladder stores and concentrates bile. Gallstones are literally, I mean, you can chop them up and they've got crystals in there from the stress hormones. So gallbladder sludge forms under chronic stress. Now, was she under stress 10 years ago before she had her gallbladder removed? She had to. Gallbladders don't malfunction. So this gal has been in pain and stress for, before 10 years. That's what we find, and that's what you got to fix. I mean, it's just crazy. What some doctors know is that there's an innate inborn intelligence in the body. This means your body is self-healing and self-regulating. Well, that's not true. I can give you a cholesterol drug that would lower your cholesterol. Well, gee, doc, why was the cholesterol high in the first place? Well, we just don't know. We in science. Okay, you see how ridiculous that is? I'm telling you, you got to listen to the history of nearly everything. The seashells on the top of a mountain, did that come from Noah? Or did it come from geological upheavals? Or, all the different stuff that they would talk about. And they came up with theories and lost it. I'm telling you right now, the chemical theory of healthcare, like the more drugs you have, the healthier you are. Okay? Thurston Howell, Gilligan's Island, what do you have, man? That rich guy had a box of pills. He could cover everything. Okay? Yeah, I watch old episodes, so that's as familiar to my brain as it was yesterday. Okay, so the body is self-healing and self-regulating. So if you're taking a drug to alter your physiology, which is chemical-based healthcare, which is creating the sickest population on the planet, ask your doctor, well, why is my blood pressure high? Why is my cholesterol high? I just read you an article that for decades, they've been prescribing non-steroidal anti-inflammatories that are destroying cartilage, increasing heart attacks, destroying literally the joints that they're trying to decrease the symptom of. It's insane. Genetic expression. If somebody says it's genetic, that is a cop-out, because you can name relatives that you have that have similar genes that don't have it. So the difference between genetic and genetic expression, negative expressions of genes are only going to occur from toxic and deficient environments. And you got to have that. You got to perceive your nervous system or your environment through your nervous system. So these are not diseases. Okay, there are adaptations. And you can see blood pressure, inflammatory bowel, fibromyalgia, cholesterol, breast cancer. All of these things are adaptations. And if somebody back home right now is saying, well, my sister had the BRCA gene and she developed breast cancer. Yeah, she also, based on the side of where it was, okay, that was a toxic environmental influence. And you probably have it, or you can name 3 or 4 cousins that have it that don't have that. So there has to be a causative factor. These are not diseases. These are adaptations. This is a completely dysfunctional model built by the pharmaceutical industry, okay, because they're not going to look at the whole structure. They're dividing it up. It's called a reductionist principle, where you break it down into the smallest units. So the gastroenterologist, even though serotonin's produced in the gut, even though this is 80% of the immune system, 80 to 90%, they're not going to talk to the psychologist and say, look, this person's got a leaky gut. They may have low serotonin production. This may be the problem with the brain. The psychologist isn't going to talk to the structural expert and say, look, that cerebellum controls the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe is where anxiety, stress, and depression is. This patient's suffering from it, and we're seeing an abnormal position or an abnormal stimulation up to the brain. This is actually a patient. Now think of today. 8 daily medications. That's what you got to take. Now, if anyone, and it, you know, because can someone say, follow the science? Is this scientific? No. You tell me if the lavoxothiamine with the hydrocodone and the amitzis, from chronic constipation because you're taking the hydrocodone. Never mind. Okay, one's to solve problems with the other. And then 11 has needed. I'm telling you, if you're taking the 8 drugs in the first part, how do you know which one of the 11 you really, really need? Okay, and does anyone think this person here is suffering from a lack of medications? Sorry, the pharmaceutical rep in the audience has a question. No, no, we'll talk afterwards because we're filming. So the gut-brain connection. Oh, I'm sorry, John. We're going back. Okay, that's a leaky gut. Now the gut-brain connection. Okay, 80 to 90% of the nervous system or the immune system is there. Okay, this is everything. Your body has to what? Assimilate nutrients. So anything that negatively affects that gastrointestinal tract negatively affects you. Okay, so if you know that every medication can alter the gut flora, and this is antacids, this is pain relievers, this is blood pressure medications, this is cholesterol medications, it's altering the assimilation of nutrients. Excretion of waste. I know she was taking a drug for that.